Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. We are testing a new foundation today. So this is the BECCA Ultimate Coverage 24-Hour Foundation. Now I have actually been testing this for the past week. And so today I'm going to show you a demo of me applying it in the best way that I have figured out to apply it. And along the way, I'm going to talk about the foundation. So sometimes I like to talk about it up front, do the demo, finish up, but I thought I would just do it all at once. So let's go ahead and get started. Now this is a glass bottle. It has a pump on it, which I love. It's 1 fluid ounce. And the first thing that I learned is that you do not even need a full pump of this. So it is a half of a pump, and that might even be too much. So the first time I used this, I did 2 pumps, and oh my goodness, way too much. Okay, the second thing that I learned is that I've tried this with a bunch of different things underneath, and I've tried it on its own. I even used it with the BECCA, what is this? The Complexion Lighting Primer. And the best thing that I have found that works well under it is this Coats sunscreen. So this is the Prime and Protect. So this is a silicone-based primer. Why that's important is because after my failed attempts the first couple days with that BECCA primer and then on its own, I looked at the ingredients, and even though the description of the foundation focuses on the fact that it has 22% water content, the very first ingredient in this foundation is dimethicone. So that means that even though it has a high water content in it, it is not going to play nicely with water-based primers. So I'll do a video if you're interested on that later, but your primer and your foundation have to have a similar composition or they won't mesh together. So I used it with this Coats sunscreen and felt that it was the best of all of the attempts that I had with this foundation. So now while that primer sits on the skin for just a minute or so for it to set, I'll just tell you a little bit about this foundation. Now BECCA did send this foundation to me through Octoly. So when I saw it on Octoly, I was super excited to get to try it because when I read this description, it sounded perfect. So it says it's ultimate coverage in a surprisingly weightless and breathable cream. A perfectly balanced distribution of pigment and water at high concentrations allows the formula to adapt to all skin types. Lightweight, oil-free, creates a second skin effect of undetectable, flexible coverage with a natural, long-wearing finish. And then later down it says 22% water adds hydration and an elastic finish to prevent pigments from settling in lines, dryness, or pores. So that sounds pretty fantastic, right? Well, let's apply it and let's see what you think. So again, I just have that half a pump on my little palette here, and the best way I found to apply it is with a dense brush. This is the Sigma F82 round kabuki, and actually I'm gonna distribute it first with my finger, and it is highly pigmented for sure. So I'm just going to distribute a little bit here. It's a very kind of thick cream, and so for all that I've actually put on my face, you can see how much I still have left. So now I'm going to blend this in, and you can see it kind of grabs, initially seems to grab the skin, so that's why I feel like you need a pretty dense brush to blend it in. Now the shade I am wearing is Sand, and on my pale winter skin, I did feel like this was a good match. Okay, so I am blending this in. Okay, and then I am going to now blend a little bit onto my forehead, and then we'll take a look and see what the skin looks like. Okay, so by the paleness of my face, you can see that it really toned down all of the redness. And from a good distance away, it doesn't look so bad. I don't use any filters or anything in filming. I use my iPhone. So what you're seeing is real life. So if I get up close, you are going to see all of my pores. And so when I wore this without a primer, I liked the initial application better, but I found within about 4 hours, it was like a grease slick on my face. And so I found with the primer, it does help keep it on a little bit longer, but even on kind of initial application, you can still see quite a lot of texture on my skin. Now, the other thing is, if I go back and I add in just a little bit more in a few spots, I do not feel like it layers well at all. It starts to just kind of almost cling and grab the foundation that's already there. So for several days, I have been trying to get good coverage around my nose area. And if I go back and add any more product, it just kind of almost is like it removes it. Okay, so it's been sitting on the skin for maybe about a minute, and you can see it has smoothed out the texture just a little bit. So it looks better than it did on initial application, but still you can just see that it's just sitting on top of the skin. Now, I will go ahead and finish the rest of my makeup. I'll put some powder on because it does look better after a good powder. And then I will also include here a wear test yesterday, and you'll be able to see what this foundation looked like after 10 hours. Okay, so I have finished up the rest of my makeup, added powder, and I just want you to see up close what the skin looks like. And you can see, especially here between the brows, even on the nose, it just looks patchy, and it's highlighting texture, my lines on my forehead, my smile lines. And as you'll see in a moment in the wear test yesterday, what happens throughout the day is it starts just kind of breaking apart on certain parts of the face. Now, I have other foundations that are dewier, that are moisturizing, and they can sink into your lines or whatever through the day. But what I can do with those is press in over the lines, and because it meshes with the skin better, it kind of blurs out and it fixes it. With this foundation, I have found that if I touch the foundation, once it's on, once it's kind of dried down, it just removes and it just becomes more and more patchy. So let me show you the wear test yesterday. This was after I had already blotted with a tissue at about the 6-hour mark. This is what it looks like after 10 hours. And you can see how shiny my face is. And look around the nose, you can see how much it has worn off. And so sadly for me, this foundation is not a win. I think the high level of dimethicone, because that's the first ingredient, for me in particular on my skin just doesn't like that much dimethicone. And I like to have a foundation that meshes better with the skin, and this does not do that. And as you saw, it really, really makes me oily and shiny. And this is really kind of the time of year when I'm a little more on the normal skin type, so not even super oily. So I just do not feel like this foundation held up well, and I don't feel like it is good for those of us with textured skin. So sadly, this does not get a thumbs up from me, but if you have tried this and love it, and maybe I've missed some secret of how to apply it and make it look great, then please let me know. So I hope this video was helpful for you. If you've heard about this foundation and are curious, hopefully I gave you enough information to help you decide whether it is something you want to check out or not. Thank you as always so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.